Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a birthday box card featuring the Bonfire Buddies from Hello Bluebird. It has been a while since I shared a box card with you, but I must be honest here, I actually created this card months back. Actually when I got this stamp set from Hello Bluebird, it was the first card that I created with the whole release that I got that day specifically. But yeah, editing a box card video just takes a bit of time, and then I know that I cannot limit it to just 10 minutes or 15 minutes, so it's always a bit of a struggle to start on the video of these kind of cards. But I'm really glad that I'm finally sharing this one today with you because I am really excited about how it turned out in the end. It's a really fun card to create. I always find that box cards, they give something extra. I don't make them often, so maybe that's also why for me it's really like wow. Whenever I create it, I'm like amazed by the fact that I just created a box card and that you can add so many images. You can also limit it and create a clean and simple box card, but today I'm definitely creating a scene box card with tons of images, just having fun with all of it. I don't exactly know how many images are in this stamp set, but I think I sort of stamped everything out, or most of the critters at least. I had no clue at the start of this card which images I needed, but in the end I really tried to use all of them. So you might not have seen the owl in the front of the card, but I did add it in the back. So that's for later on. So the coloring, really simple brown combinations that I love. I am reusing the same brown markers, but I'm just adding a lighter one, or I am adding a darker one to get all of these critters working. The only critter that isn't going to be brown is the raccoon, and that one is, no, it's not a raccoon, it's a skunk. And that one is going to be in warm grays. So I just did the owl, I'm removing the darkest marker here, and I'm going to color in the bunny. So really simple. Also color-wise, with the t-shirts that they are wearing, I had no clue, but then I ended up creating kind of a masculine color combination, which can also definitely be used for feminine cards, and it could work for anything. But I just recalled when I needed to figure out the t-shirts that I had my brother-in-law's birthday coming up in the beginning of November, so I made it a masculine card. So here again I'm coloring from darkest to lightest marker. You will see that in each of the images. Here again I'm showcasing what I'm doing. So the bunny had two of the same markers, and I just switched out the darkest one to give this a warmer kind of brown for this fox. So really simple. So depending on the markers that you have, you might have a combination that you love. Try to take away one of the markers on the outer edges of the combination, if I can say it like that, and try to put in another one that you have. And maybe that is just a new combination that you have never thought about, but works perfectly. So that's the strong thing about these markers, and also something that I really encourage you to think about whenever buying markers, because I know that they are expensive. I don't have the full collection because that would, well, cost tons. It's a dream to have it one day, but I also noticed that I grab towards the same markers each time again and again, and some markers are just drying out without me even knowing it, because I grab towards the same ones each time again and again. So just think about that whenever buying new markers, that you might just need that one extra marker to have tons of more combinations. So for the bear, I went for even a darker brown combination than what I already featured. Also for shadowing, maybe you're wondering, I try to do the shadowing how the critters are facing. So for the tree stems, I just did a bit randomly, centered kind of light source. The bear is facing towards the left, so the left side has the light source on it. I'm also going to color the campfire, and then I will put that in the center of my box in the end. So that actually is a really good idea to figure out where you're going to place the bonfire, and then you can see how those critters are going to be affected by that. If you want to make it even more evolved and crazy colored, then you can also add a tiny hint of yellow in the areas where they have the light source, so that you have that yellow color from the bonfire on top of your critters. But I'm not that far advanced yet, so in this case I just went for the simple way to add light sources there where the face is of all of the critters, to help me with the shadowing. So as you can see also, I am currently not bothered by coloring like the innards of the ears. I'm going to use the same marker for all of them. So I'm just going to do that all at once. Now for the guitar here, I really wanted to use browns, but I wanted it to stand out enough from the bear, so I went for a light brown combination to help me with that. And I'm just blending it out towards the lightest marker. So tons of browns here. It's a really warm card, and then we will do like a really dark and rich background as well. I also love these critters, thinking about Father's Day cards, for example, but also the one with the canoe from Hello Bluebird. They have some really lovely critters in it, and I think just sometimes with masculine cards we can look for color combinations that might seem a bit more masculine, but there is also some stem sets that are really masculine vibes that make it really easy. And even though you might use colors that are gender neutral or maybe a bit more feminine, the critters on its own, like here, I can see myself go camping more with my father than with my mother. I didn't do that with any of them, but well, I just mean like there are ways, or there are stamp sets that can already help you as well. So here for the shadowing, just repeating, since the skunk is facing towards the left, I have on the left side of the critter the lightest colors of my combinations to help me with that. Also the tail here, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of shadowing on those lighter areas. And then we are almost done with coloring, so just the innards of the ears. Therefore I'm going to use, as always, E13, E11, and then we have the t-shirts left over. Those I will be coloring with a muted blue and a muted green. You can do it more vibrant if you want to, definitely, but I think it works with the background later on as well, so I'm really happy that I went for these more soft, still dark, but soft combinations. Also, don't forget the beak of the owl. I almost forgot about it. So just a tiny hint of orange. And then for the fire, I think I did it the right way. Like, we have first a bit of orange, kind of the darkest thing in the middle, and then we go out and we have more yellowish kind of colors. I tried to do some flicking to reinforce the flames a bit more, but I don't know if that really worked out or not. I'm just happy with how it ended up in the end, so that's the most important thing. Also used really warm yellow tones because we went from orange to yellow, and I just thought that the warm yellow would help me with the transition as well. I'm just working my way through it. If you think that you need more layers, just add more layers. If you're afraid that your paper is not going to be able to handle all of the layers that you want to add, heat set your paper in between. That can also really help you. And that's just how this bonfire came together really easily. In case you want to revisit the color combinations that I used today, or also want to just see how those tiny changes in the marker combination just gave completely different browns for all of the critters, definitely check out my blog post, because there I have everything listed. I have listed the fox, the bunny, the owl, the wood, you know, everything. So that can be an easy reference in case you are coloring later on and you want to use one of these combinations. Then you can find it all over there. So here, as you can see, this green, it's like really warm, dull, old. I don't know how to call it exactly, but I love how this green turned out. I think this is a really good green if you want to make masculine cards. And then for the bunny, I went for, well, the t-shirt of the bunny, I went for this BG 70 combination, 78, 75, 72. It's a really great blue combination, really soft, but also dark enough. And then once I have colored this in, I will die cut all of the elements that I've colored in, and I will also be die cutting all of the elements that I need for the box card. So here are the matching dies. I am just going to lay them in place, and then I use some purple tape to keep everything in place while running it through my die cutting machine. Now for the box card, I am using the Outside the Box Level Up from My Favorite Things, the Outside the Box Low Profile add-on from My Favorite Things, and I also die cut these hills. These are from the Slimline Snow Drifts from My Favorite Things. I die cut it to put later on the the levels in the box. So here I have all the pieces for the bottom of my box without the hills currently, but just the box itself. And I'm going to add some distressings on top. I'm going to play with crushed olives and forest moss. I'm just going to create a gradient in between these two inks. I'm going to do that on each side of these elements. And I must admit that I don't always do this on each side of every part of a box whenever I'm creating a box card. But when you do, the fun thing about this is that when you look at your box from upside down, from the behind towards the front, from any side that you will have, that scene continuously present. And that's a really fun thing to do. So I'm working my way through the blending. Now something that I want to feature here and to remind you of is that I also die cut a hillside for the back of my box here. I just use that arch to help me get the perfect sizing for that hill. I'm also going to do that for the hills of these levels that I will be having, because this way it's just perfect. And I don't know about you, but I find it really hard to get like the perfect sizing when I have to trim things down myself. And it's not that hard to measure and then trim it, but trim it exactly to size, for me it's really a pain. This helps me a lot, because whenever I'm trimming these hills for the intersections or the different levels, I often end up with a hill that has just a millimeter shortage or too much, and then you're continuously trimming things down, and it can also go a bit crooked. So there are so many ways that I am able to just ruin things by trimming things myself. So use dies in case you're like me, and that's an option. So here I was adding that forest moss. Now the only thing the only thing that kept me going here was just that the blend needed to be good, and kind of the gradient all over need to be also kind of the same. I'm going to add things next to each other, and that, well, the seam should be seamless, you know. So I just went back and forth until I liked the blending, the gradient that I had. Also, something that I often have is that I start really light, and then there is one piece that I am ink blending a bit darker, and then you need just to go dark everywhere because, well, otherwise the difference is so big that it just isn't continuously. So here also on the heels, I'm making sure that I get my blend, and then we will compare things. We will check things out, put it next to each other, to see whether it's working or not. So several elements are getting done right now. I also still need my background for that arch in the background. It will be a night sky because we have that bonfire, it's shining. So I want a really, really dark blue night sky, so that we will ink blend later on after all of these green pieces. So here I have that arch, and I'm going to use several dark blue inks, as you can see here, as well as black soot. I also didn't bother going really light because my green was already kind of dark, and so I needed a really rich dark blue background here. I'm also using the same blending brush for all of the blues because I'm just creating a gradient, so it doesn't bother me having still a bit of that other blue on that blender brush. Now, well, originally in the past I also used the same blending brush for black, but I ended up with these, well, with this assortment of blending brushes, and so I could use one for only black. So that's what I have here, two blending brushes, one for all of the blues and one for black. I'm going to splatter a starry night sky using some white gouache here, and I'm really going to add tons of it. Like, it can be a really stunning night sky, starry sky. Something that I'm always amazed by is that when you go in nature, where you're often going when you want to go camping, but when you're going in nature and there isn't any lamps out there, you see so many stars. And it always amazes me because when I go outside just in front of my house, then the only thing that I see is the street lanterns, and they are like ruining the view when you want to see stars. And that's something that really amazes me every time I go in nature where there isn't any light pollution, that you can really see all of those stunning stars. And so I really wanted a ton of stars in this background. Here I'm just helping myself. I'm scoring the score lines made by the die, again, just to help me whenever I'm going to fold it, that it goes really easy, and everything is just fine. So yeah. So here it's time to assemble the box, which is kind of the coolest part of the whole box creating thing. I love to assemble box cards, but you have to prep kind of a lot. So that's the only thing I think holding me from making tons of box cards. Now, as you could see just really quickly, is that I just ruined a bit of my idea here. I adhere like the hills a bit upside down, or because I originally wanted all of the things to be fluently and having all of the blending exactly the same, and everything is just nice and perfect, but I just adhered it upside down. So if you really look from the back towards the front, then you will see that the darkest green is like on top instead of on the bottom. But well, things happen, and I know it, but not everything can always go perfect, so it's a tiny detail. I'm not going to be bothered by it. Also here I adhered my Scor Tape on the wrong side of the tiny piece here because I don't want any of these elements to be visible on the outside of the box, so everything needs to be on the inside. And so I originally added it to the wrong side. I was a bit bummed by it, but I quickly removed it and you can barely see it. So again, a tiny boo-boo, but it happens. And if you're able to fix that while creating, then I think we should be all really happy, because it's not always that easy to get rid of a few tiny mistakes that we might have made. So yeah. Here also I am aligning those hills with the bottom of the back of my panel, and then I'm just making sure to hold it flat again and do everything the same on the other side as well. Now I also think, if I recall correctly, that here I was also giving myself a hard time with everything, with adhering everything, but in the end it turns out fine. Just make sure that it is straight with the bottom of that arch that you also have, and then just fold it close like that, and you have your box. How awesome is this? You really have your scenery going on, you have several hills to put critters on, and then it's just all about figuring out how to add all of your critters, which I had no clue what I was going to do. And I also wanted to add a sentiment still, so still tons of things to figure out, but it all came together quite easily. So here, whenever I'm creating box cards, I actually don't use any foam adhesives, because, well, you want to fold it flat later on to post it, and well, the foam adhesives, I just don't know about it with box cards. So I'm using tons of liquid glue. I'm using my tweezers to keep things in place until it's really stuck. I only have one pair of tweezers, so I need to remove it to add the next thing. I also try to use all of these branches to put on the critters. This lovely owl and the bunny. But all of a sudden I just had the idea that I had a bit, well, just tons of images. And so I couldn't find the place to put the owl. Well, you can definitely add it completely full, but I just sometimes find it a bit sad whenever we're adding so many things to the box, which I'm definitely doing here. But I'm sometimes finding it sad that you cannot see all of them shine because they are covering each other. So therefore, I added that owl in the back. What I do to just make sure that my card is like finished and all those things, I just add a second arch in the back, as you could see right now, so that it's like perfect, seamless, you know. And I'm going to add the owl on top. Normally I create the smaller arch, I like a smaller one as well, to write something on, to write like the happy birthday or anything like that on top. And then I put Scor Tape in the back so that later on, when it's filled up, I can add it without being blocked, because it's really hard to write on box cards whenever you don't have like a text panel to do that on. But in this case I really did that in the end, because my owl is directly on the back of this box and I didn't want to cover it with any panel, you know. So here is the sentiment. It's from Party on the Farm. I love the script from this happy birthday. I used the banner that is inside the box die. And then I just added it on the right side because my fox was going to overlap with the left side. And everything is just tied in together. And I really love how this turned out. Now the only thing missing, because I thought that it was just finished right now, I was missing a moon. So I went looking for a moon. I colored it in and I added the moon. So let's just do that quickly before putting this away. As you can see, you can still write on the back, but you cannot really add another panel. So it was a bit harder, but we ended up doing that perfectly. So that moon is going to be from this gorgeous other stem set from Hello Bluebird. I just colored it in with a few yellow markers, die cut it with a matching die, and then I added it on this panel, and it really tied in everything. It's also a nice nice link with like the fire, the yellow from the fire. So everything returns a tiny bit, and it really tied in everything. Like the background, it was finished with the moon. You don't need to, but I really think that it's a bonus to add a moon here. So I just did that, and then my box card is completely finished. A wonderful happy birthday box card that is quite masculine. You can give it to anyone, but if you're looking for masculine ideas, then I definitely think that this one could work perfectly for you as well. So this is my box. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got inspired to create something similar, or just use this stamp set or the box die if you have it at home. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!